15 years ago, when I went to Lijiang, the streets were full of bars, cafes, and tourist shops. I decided to leave the next day after I arrived. After that, I never went to Lijiang again. It was a feeling of being deceived, and I still remember it vividly. When I went to the old town of Hanoi, even though there were still new buildings being built there, and there were also cafes all over the streets, the people living in Hanoi made me feel the continuation of time. I know that this description may confuse some people, but I want to try to describe my feelings with this video. Life is not a result, but a process in many cases. And travel is also. Why do people like to visit ancient cities? I think it should not be to escape from the hustle and bustle, nor just to find a theme park of another style. In the past 20 years, China has built countless theme parks and antique commercial streets, which have neither historical heritage nor cultural memory. And I think it is probably only people who can make me really feel that an ancient city is alive. Of course, the old street in Yulin was not in my plan. I am sometimes very lazy and don't like to visit scenic spots or shops. I like to go to places with few people. But I just happened to live next to it, so this old street with not so many tourists, and not so many tourist souvenir shops successfully attracted me. It's not that this is a good place without tourists, but as soon as I arrived at the gate of the city wall, I was attracted by the old people who were enjoying the cool under the gate. Do you know the role of the elderly in an ancient city? I went to few places before and never thought about this question. Later, I went to more and more places and found that the elderly are really important. Especially some places with history. An ancient city without elderly people, I can only say that it is a city. I have no way to judge whether it is ancient or not. When you see the scene in front of you, I can confirm that this place has history. Then, I also sat under this city gate for a while, and at this time, I found that these elderly people have another role, which is to slow down time. You sit next to them and immediately become leisurely. Trivial matters and troubles are gone, and the mood is much more relaxed. I really say my feelings. If you have the opportunity to come here, you can also try it. The roads in this rebuilt ancient city are still too smooth. This method of repairing the old as new can easily make people doubt whether this ancient city is genuine, and may lose the original meaning of the ancient city. Car pulling onions. But when I saw this scene, I forgot whether this was an ancient city or not. It was alive and full of vitality. These people and vendors selling vegetables on the roadside reminded me of the old street. 100 years or more ago, this street should be like this, with small vendors, snacks, and street stalls. This is what an ancient city should look like, and it is still the same as before. Walking in the middle of this ancient city market, I immediately imagined the scenes in ancient Chinese paintings. I think the ancient people shopping on the street probably felt similar to me now, but now they may not smell the stench of cattle and horses. Ordinary people back then made a living here, and ordinary people now still make a living here. I am very sure that this is the ancient city I am looking for. It is definitely not the kind of ancient city that is extremely exquisitely decorated but drives away ordinary people who have made a living here for generations. As I walked around, the pavilions, memorial archways, towers, and alleys left over from the old times became less and less important. They just became a foil in an atmosphere. I enjoyed my time here more. I walked on this old street of less than 2 kilometers for a whole morning. Even the people riding electric bicycles here felt much slower than those in big cities. It was as if there was a speed reducer on this street, making all the people who came here, like the elderly here, unable to walk fast. Even these workers lying in the attic to rest seemed to enjoy themselves very much. I think big cities can't give them such ease. Because there are many lanes and alleys here, it is called Little Beijing. To be honest, some places do have the flavor of Beijing alleys. I can't completely agree. Now Beijing's alleys are also full of the rhythm of the city, with hurried footsteps and electric cars everywhere. But here can't keep up with the rhythm of Beijing at all, it's all leisure. If Beijing returns to its original state in the future, I would rather call them Little Yulin. I was hungry, so I walked into a noodle restaurant in the old street. The prices really shocked me. This is no longer the price of a small city. It is comparable to the level of airport catering. Fortunately, the portion of noodles is large enough and the taste is good enough. This old street is indeed not a tourist attraction. If you come here with a tourist mentality, I think you will probably be disappointed, because the ancient buildings here are not as old as imagined, and some even look a little weird. There are no tourist souvenirs to buy here. Even when I walked through the entire street, there was no cafe, no chain convenience store, no Starbucks, and no McDonald's. So I am very satisfied. This is what an ancient city should look like, without any impurities. Time has not changed the living habits of people here. It has only continued from the past to the present. If this is not ancient enough, then what is an ancient city? Yulin may be difficult to come again in the future, but the experience of a morning in this old street is probably going to be saved as an archive in the brain. From time to time, I take it out to recall, and there is always a very comfortable feeling. The so-called difference between tourism and travel is probably like this. Tourism is just touching some mustard on the cerebral cortex. If you apply too much, you will cry with spiciness. If you touch less, you only need some clean water to forget the taste. And travel is to leave a mark deep in the brain, which can never be erased.